Jerry Uelsman was a professor at the University of Florida, taught photography, and he did this interesting thing. Walked into his class on the first day of the semester. He said, all right, we're going to draw a line right down the middle of the class. Everybody on this side, at the end of the semester, you're going to be judged based on the quality of your work. So you only got to produce one photo throughout the semester, but it needs to be the best possible photo you can make. Then everybody on this side of the class, you're going to be judged differently. We're going to judge your grade based on the quantity of your work. So 100 photos, this is a film photography class. They got to, take the photos, process them, and so on. So he said 100 photos is going to be an A, 90 photos complete will be a B, 70, 80 a C, and so on. He noticed this interesting thing. Term goes to the end. They get to the end of the semester, and he realized all the best photos were actually taken by the quantity group, not the quality group. And the interesting part about that is that the quantity group was out there trying. They were honing their skills. They were, trying different angles and perspectives, working with different forms of light, gradually building this skill set for what it meant to take a great photo. And they got to the end of the term and they had actually built skills that led to a better result. Whereas the quality group spent most of the semester theorizing about what the best photo would be or trying to think about where it could be the perfect location or the perfect time of day to take something. At the end of the term, they didn't have enough iteration. They didn't have enough trial and error to have actually developed their skills to the degree to have something exceptional. And of course, there are all kinds of lessons we can take from that on the importance of quantity over quality, the importance of repetition and the necessity of repetition for building skills, developing habits, and gradually improving and getting a little bit better each day. So if you remember, we broke a habit into 4 stages, and the third stage is the response. And the third law of behavior change is all about making it easy. It's about making that response easy, making the habit as easy as possible to perform. And the easier a habit is, the more convenient or frictionless it is, the more simple or straightforward it is, the more likely it is to occur. And this is perhaps the first place the usage should start. It's the third law, but it might be the most important thing when it comes to building a better habit. The photography story teaches that you can spend all day thinking about the best approach, but that's not helpful if you never take action. Motion and action may sound similar, but they're not. When you're in motion, you're planning and strategizing, but that doesn't lead to a result. Life rewards action, not planning. I like to make this division between motion and action. Motion is often prep, it's research, it's planning, things that you do beforehand that can help you do a better job, but they don't deliver a result on their own. Whereas action is the type of thing that can deliver the result that you're looking for. In my case, reading, although it's essential for my job, and almost all the ideas that I write about are downstream from what I read, reading books will never produce something for me. It'll never lead to a newsletter. It will never lead to a book. It's not an action, it's motion. Whereas sitting down to actually write a newsletter or to write a chapter of a book, that is a habit that's action. So reading is motion, writing is action, in my particular case, in my particular work. Another example, doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym and talk to a personal trainer, talking to a personal trainer will never get you in shape. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have one, doesn't mean they're not useful. It just means that that's motion, whereas getting under the bar and doing a set of squats is action because it can get you the result that you want. The problem is that motion is usually a little bit easier to do. It's a little bit easier to send an email to a personal trainer and find out about their rates and how they work. It's a little bit easier to read a book than it is to write one. And we often use motion as an excuse for taking action. We use it as a justification for like, oh no, I'm doing something, I'm making a little bit of progress, but actually we aren't moving the needle on the real thing that drives results. So motion is fine if it complements the action that you're taking. If it substitutes for your actions, then you've lost the thread and you're no longer moving forward. The third law of behavior change is to make it easy, but that doesn't mean only do easy things. It means make it as easy as possible to do the things that pay off in the long run. If it meant only do easy things, you could find yourself in motion all day long. But because it means do the things that pay off in the long run in the easiest way possible, it encourages you to focus on the high leverage actions, on the most important actions, on the things that really drive results. And by making those things easier, you put yourself in a position to get results while making each day feel reasonable. One strategy that researchers and scientists sometimes use with people when they're trying to shape a new habit or behavior is they use a process called habit shaping, where you start with a very, very easy version of the habit, and then you build into something more gradually. You build into a larger version of it. So for example, You might start with something really simple like getting your running shoes on and walking around the block, and then eventually you're running, half a mile, and then you're doing 5 miles, and then you sign up for a half marathon and so on. You can imagine this idea of habit shaping applying to many different habits in life. Let's say you want to become an early riser, for example. The very easy version of that is maybe we don't focus at all at the time that you're waking up. We just start with, what's my power down routine look like at night? Can I optimize my power down routine? Can I make sure that I shut screens off by 10 p.m., that I get into a good flow, going to bed at the same time every night? That's the first part of it. Then once you've optimized that, you move into the next phase, which is I'm not going to worry about moving my time up. I'm just going to try to get to bed at the same time each night, and I'm going to optimize my wake up routine. So now I'm going to get up in the same way. I'm going to always, get up the first time my alarm goes off. I won't press snooze and so on. And then you can imagine just kind of progressing this forward until eventually you get to the point where you're going to bed at the same time each night. You have this power down routine. You get up as soon as your alarm goes off, and then you start inching the timing up more and more. And so eventually you're getting up at 6:30 and then 6:15, and then it gets earlier and earlier as you go through the shaping process. So you start with a very easy version. In some cases, you're not even really getting the result you want yet. You're just starting with laying the groundwork. And then you shape yourself gradually toward the ultimate outcome that you're trying to build. Obviously, I hope you find the whole class useful. I hope there's a lot of ideas in here that you can take and run away with and implement and utilize. But if you could only remember one idea, the 2-minute rule might be a good one to remember. And I say that because the 2-minute rule can be applied to pretty much any habit you're trying to build. And it's very simple. It just says, take whatever habit you're trying to create and you scale it down to something that takes 2 minutes or less to do, right? So read 30 books a year becomes read 1 page. Or do yoga 4 days a week becomes take out my yoga mat. Or in my case, write a newsletter every week becomes write 1 sentence. Sometimes people resist that a little bit. They're like, okay, buddy, I know the real goal isn't just to take my yoga mat out. I know I'm actually trying to do the workout. So it's some kind of mental trick, and I know it's a trick, then why would I fall for it, basically? And, I get where people are coming from, but I have this reader. His name's Mitch. He lost over 100 pounds. He's kept it off for more than a decade. And he had this strange little rule for himself where when he went to the gym, he wasn't allowed to stay for longer than 5 minutes. So he'd get in the car, drive to the gym, get out, do half an exercise, get back in the car, drive home. And it sounds silly, right? It sounds ridiculous. You're like, clearly this is not going to get the guy the results that he wants. But if you take a step back, what you realize is that he was mastering the art of showing up. He was becoming the type of person that went to the gym 4 days a week, even if it was only for 5 minutes. And this is a much deeper truth about habits, which is a habit must be established before it can be improved. It has to become the standard in your life before you can scale it up and turn it into something more. I don't know why we do this, but we tend to get very all or nothing about our habits. We're so focused on finding the best workout program, the perfect diet plan, the ideal sales strategy. We're so focused on optimizing that we don't give ourselves permission to show up, even if it's just in a small way. If you can't master the art of showing up, if you can't be the kind of person who goes to the gym for 5 minutes, who cares how good the 45-minute workout plan is? It's just a theory at that point. And so the 2-minute rule pushes back against that perfectionist tendency. It encourages you to master the art of showing up, to scale it down and make it easy to do. And then once you've gained a foothold, you can advance to the next level. The third law of behavior change is make it easy. Know the difference between motion and action. Shape your habits to make them stick. Use the 2-minute rule. Here's an assignment for you. I want you to take a habit you are trying to create and think about how you can shape it. Start small. Think of the first task you take in completing this action, and once you accomplish this small task, if desired, you can continue scaling it up into something bigger, step by step. Creating new habits often comes down to one final step.